Today I'm going to be reading from Ezekiel chapter 47, the healing waters and trees. Then he brought me back to the door of the temple, and there was water flowing from under the threshold of the temple towards the east, for the front of the temple faced east. The water was flowing from under the right side of the temple, south of the altar. He brought me out by way of the north gate and led me around on the outside to the outer gateway that faces east, and there was water running out on the right side. And when the man went out to the east with the line in his hand, he measured 1,000 cubits, and he brought me through the waters. The water came up to my ankles. Again, he measured 1,000 and brought me through the waters. The water came up to my knees. Again, he measured 1,000 and brought me through. The water came up to my waist. Again, he measured 1,000, and it was a river that I could not cross, for the water was too deep, water in which one must swim, a river that could not be crossed. He said to me, "Son of man, have you seen this?" Then he brought me and returned me to the bank of the river. When I returned there, along the bank of the river were very many trees on one side and the other. Then he said to me, "This water flows towards the eastern region, goes down into the valley, and enters the sea. When it reaches the sea, its waters are healed, and it shall be that every living thing that moves, wherever the rivers go, will live. There will be a very great multitude of fish because these waters go there, for they will be healed, and everything will live wherever the river goes. It shall be that fishermen will stand by it from Engedi to En Eglam, where there will be places for spreading their nets. Their fish will be of the same kinds as the fish of the great sea, exceedingly many. But its swamps and marshes will not be healed. They will be given over to salt. Along the bank of the river, on this side and that, will grow all kinds of trees used for food. Their leaves will not wither, and their fruit will not fail. They will bear fruit every month because their water flows from the sanctuary. Their fruit will be for food, and their leaves for medicine." This passage holds an extra special meaning for me. My grandmother passed away about a month ago, and she talked about seeing Jesus several times. And every time that she saw Jesus, she started out in a river. And so when this verse was brought to my attention, I couldn't wait to get home and read it for myself because it is such a beautiful, beautiful passage. And we're going to talk about some of the things that I think make it more beautiful. So, excuse me. First off, this river started out from a temple. Okay, so we know right away that these waters are the living waters of God. Wherever this river goes, things were able to live and live abundantly. It was in a barren landscape. And by the way, this was a vision that Ezekiel had seen. But it was in a barren landscape, and there was nothing all around but like dirt and rock. So when the water started flowing from the temple, the living waters, things began to start living. So this river flowed into the Dead Sea. And the Dead Sea is very, very salty, and it's not able to sustain life. But because this river ran into it, it was able to allow fish to live there. Such a beautiful thing. So God's river, God's life flowing is able to provide life even in a barren landscape. And the landscape reminds me of the world that we live today. People are so tired of racism. They're so tired of hatred, and they long for a hope, and they long for the living water that God provides. Even if they don't realize it's what they need, we as Christians know that that's what they need. The thing about this river is that, rivers can refresh us spiritually and physically. I ran cross country in college, and many times after cross country practice, our coach would have us get into the river because it helped make us less sore the following day. So the waters restored us. And just as God has the ability to restore us today, wherever the river goes, there's life. So most cities are built near some body of water because we need water. Celebrations happen at rivers. Fishing happens in rivers. We get food from rivers, and streams and lakes and oceans. But water is a very, very important part of our life. And in this passage, we see that because the water flowed from the temple, life was in that Dead Sea. Life. So in our world today, we're barren and we're thirsty, but God's life-giving water allows us to live in a place where we think we shouldn't be able to live, but we do. We can also channel the river. There's lots of people who need these living waters in their life, and we have the ability to bring these waters to them by talking about what God has done for us in our life, and making sure that they know that no matter what they've done in their past, God is a forgiving God, and God will forgive them, and God will heal them just like He did in our lives. So the river is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And in this passage, if you notice, the river started out like real shallow. It only came up to his ankles. But then within the 4,000 cubits, it was already to a point where it had to be swum, and you couldn't even swim across it. And I think that's a lot like our lives today. We start out and we learn about God. We're just getting our feet in the water. But then the more we study and the more we learn, the water gets a little higher and a little higher and a little higher until eventually, it engulfs us. And I think that is a beautiful piece of imagery also. Excuse me. If you would like to know more about or read more about living waters, read Revelations chapter 22. In that chapter, it's talking about the river coming from the throne of God. Again, very beautiful. But I hope that this message blesses you as much as it blesses me. Thank you for your time, and God bless.